at you.
Everyone around you buys. You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs. I wonder when we'll be rid of your lies.
Hello and welcome to the Atheist Experience. We are live. There's a massive crowd on the other side of the glass. I'm Matt Tony. Joining me this week, our special guest, Shelley Siegel.
Hey.
Woo! How are you doing?
Very, very good.
Yes,
Very
I can tell.
And still reverberating.
Yes, we got it sorted. Awesome. A special guest. Has been a great, week of events and everything. On Thursday was Valentine's Day. We had both the special episode of Secular Sexuality, followed by a wonderful concert with Shelley and Rob. And then, I don't know, then there were like 4 parties at my house this week. So I'm going to be really tired later. So you can just do the show by yourself? Good?
I got it.
Cool. We've got loads of calls, a few announcements to make to get out of the way, and then we'll keep going. This is the Atheist Experience. We are live from Austin, Texas. Today is Sunday, February 17th, 2019. Unless you're watching this in the future, in which case pick up a watch or a calendar and find out for yourself. I'm just telling you what it is right this second. Couple notes. The newsletter for this month is now out, so you can check on social media and the Atheist Experience or Atheist Community of Austin webpage to get more information about that. And we have a friend of the show named Caitlin Smart who is recovering from surgery and has evidently been inundated with thoughts and prayers. And of course, prayers aren't much. Thoughts are nice. But what we thought was we would send her a massive group hug from all of us on the show, the people on the other side of the glass, and everybody watching. Get better soon, Caitlin. Take care. And also, we're going to put up infographics for Shelley's tour date so that wherever you are, you can find her. And so I can't read it from here, but they'll run across it.
So
you can tell where you're going.
ShelleySiegel.com/gigs.
There you go.
Gigs, you have to say it like that.
Gigs?
Gigs. And you can see where I'm playing all over the US.
Sweet.
And the UK as well for Atheist Day. I'm going to be at our Atheist Day conference in London with Mariam Namazi. And you guys are doing Atheist Day celebrations here as well, is that right?
Possibly. I don't know. After 4 parties this week, I don't know that I need another celebration, but I will participate as needed. Yeah, give Miriam a hug when you see her. I haven't seen her in quite a while. ShelleySiegel.com/gigs or gigs if you're from down under. So, now you were here in, you did Amarillo like Wednesday, Austin Thursday, San Antonio Saturday.
We did Amarillo the week before, and then we did Arlington on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Here in Austin on Thursday and San Antonio last night.
And where's next?
Next is going to be New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Or Nolans.
Nolans.
I should say, sorry.
There's like 14 apostrophes if you say it right. Nolans. All right. So we met years and years ago.
Yeah.
And it was fun because you had just started touring in the U.S. and the Atheist album was either just getting ready to come out or had just come out.
Yeah, I think it just came out.
And yet you were still in Australia at the time, but now you're not.
Yes, now I'm based in the US. I live in Los Angeles, and it makes it a lot easier to tour, that's for sure. And I love it. I love living here.
But do you miss Melbourne?
Perfect pronunciation.
Thank you. I've been there.
You've been working on it. I miss my friends and family, but I don't miss it too much,
Yeah. So you've got the Atheist album, a couple others, but you have a new one.
Yes.
That's just come out.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So I have a new record out. It's coming out March 15th, but it's available for pre-order at the moment, and it is. It's called Holy, and I wanted to be able to, I guess, decide for myself what is holy and elevated as opposed to having it dictated to me. That's sort of the message of the album, and there's a few, quite a few different themes on there.
Wait, you like being free to make decisions about your own life rather than being controlled?
Yeah.
All right. Well, a little later on the show, we'll pause for a little bit and get Robin here and do a song off that. So I'm dumbfounded because we've been friends for years. I haven't had you on the show before,
I know.
and so we've got loads of live callers ready, but I don't want to screw anything up. So it was like, I grabbed the ukulele, I'll try and play along, and thank you for making it sound much better.
Oh, thanks for playing it together. That was cool.
But and no lip syncing was involved in that, just for the record. But when you started touring and you came out with the Atheist album, it resonated well with the secular community. I mean, you did stuff with Dan Barker and other people who are more musically inclined than I am. And at some point, you just became kind of like the standard to where when it was time to pick a new theme song for the Atheist Experience, I don't know that there was all that much discussion. It was just going to be, yep, we're using Saved. Let's contact Shelley. When you're traveling around, are you primarily gigging for secular groups, or are you mixing in other shows as well?
It's both. Yeah, I do probably half shows, mainstream shows at bars and clubs, and being a troubadour folk singer.
Do you change the set list?
I do change the set list, and the main way that I change the set list is if I'm doing a show that's not for the secular community, I will still put those secular and atheist theme songs in there, but I'll wait till halfway through. So I'll wait to give people a chance to get to know me, feel connected with me, feel they like me, and then I think people are a lot more open.
Musical secular drug dealer. Let me get you hooked on the music, and then I will teach you the things you need to know.
Exactly.
That's perfect. How are they received when you're doing the mainstream stuff?
It's been really great. It's been people come up afterwards, and it's been cool to introduce people to the secular community who didn't know about it, who just come to the show and realize, that's how I feel as well. Sometimes people, you see their head turn very quickly at the bar, and they come over and they want to have an argument afterwards. But it's been pretty good.
Has anybody been mean?
There was one person that started yelling something about Jews in the street after the show. That was pretty scary.
Do you have a song that's about Jews in the street?
No. I was talking about, my experiences growing up in the Jewish community. I was like, no, I'm criticizing it. Come back. I think in a different way. But it's been good. I had one show cancelled because a local church was petitioning the venue that I was going to play at. But we ended up getting...
You should have sold more tickets when that happened.
We did sell more tickets with another local venue, Doyle's, a public house in Washington, in Tacoma, picked us up, and they got a lot more support and love for doing that. So.
That's great.
Yeah.
I wonder, I think, I can recall lots of things that I learned primarily through music, but when you think about what popular musicians have done, many times they're on the forefront of social change. Many times they're singing the things that if you were to say them, it might rub people the wrong way. But because there's this perception of there's an artist freely expressing themselves, it takes on a different tone. And so do you find that you get a secular message better received because you're...
I think so. I think... people are a bit more, maybe they don't know they're about to hear an argument. They think they're going to hear a song. And I sometimes joke in my show that it's really a 4-minute uninterrupted opinion. And I do think that people are more open to hearing something that might otherwise, confront them or challenge them if it's through song, especially if it's someone they like. And then sometimes people just miss it completely. Like they just miss what I'm saying. I had the first time I played in New Orleans, I was really nervous because I know, it's very religious and...
But they're all drunk.
Well, maybe
nobody cares about religion in New Orleans.
Well, I mean, that was my first time actually touring here, so I didn't know exactly what was up in New Orleans, which is such a cool place. I'm excited to go back. But I was playing Saved, and I was so nervous that people were going to come and be really offended. And this guy came up to me after the show, and I thought, oh, here we go. And he said, that song you played, Saved, no one's going to tell you what to do. I said, yeah. He said, that's great. I agree so much. He said, if I don't want to wear a seatbelt, I shouldn't have to wear a seatbelt.
All right. Maybe that's...
You get the message. Americans understand that individualist, freedom, but not apparently from God or Jesus.
Yeah, not quite the message, but you're starting off on the right foot. But maybe you should wear a seatbelt.
Yeah.
I'm just So you're going to Nolan's next, and we've already had the graphic up. We'll put that up again later on in the show about where you're going. How difficult is it? Because I do a mixture of things. I'll do lectures, debates, magic shows, whatever, and I'm kind of all over the place right now. But you have been, like, I look at you and it's like, why is she not selling out 15, 20,000 seat venues and all this other stuff? And you're running around and you're doing these awesome shows for, I don't know, anywhere from like one person, me in the living room, to, hundreds of people. Is this, I don't know, I don't even know how to ask the question. When you're touring like this regularly.
Yeah.
How much does it wear you down, or is it just, oh my gosh, it's inspiring, we're going out for another night, another night, another night?
Yeah, it's mostly inspiring. Like, I do get tired, but that's when Rob takes over the driving. No, I love it. I love connecting with people, and I've always loved, I talked about this a bit on Thursday night with the secular sexuality show. What's moved me and helped me the most in my life has been other musicians who showed me a different way of thinking about something, and yourselves in this show as well. It's a similar thing when someone helps you to see the world in a different way, it changes your life. It changes who you are. It changes the world. It's been the most motivating and inspiring force in my life is music that has made me think differently. So if I can be that for somebody else, it's the most rewarding thing in the world, and it energizes me and motivates me over and over and over again. And sometimes it's not, the biggest crowd. I've done, house concerts for fans, really small, like a house concert with 10 people in Tampa, Florida, and someone answered their phone in the middle of me playing too. But, and then later I stayed with everyone, and every all 10 people, well, 9 because that guy left. We kicked him out. But
no cell phone.
Everybody talked about their experiences and what they've been through and their journey to get where they are, and how the songs helped them get over it, or how they related to it. And I've done similar things with like recovering from religion groups, where we sit and we talk, and sometimes I'll get people up to share their stories too, and it's just, it's incredibly motivating and meaningful to me.
That's, Margaret Downey, who I absolutely adore and is one of, if not the finest people in the entire secular community, made a point several years ago that, we were doing conventions and it would be lecture. And she was very clear in pointing out to many of us, and some of us took it to heart, that we need more people telling stories so that people know that they're not alone and what they've gone through that other people have experienced. And so on this show, we've got a call-in show. We'll get to calls here shortly. And we have discussions. Tell us what you believe and why. Sometimes the arguments are going to get heated. Sometimes they're not. Maybe we'll agree. Maybe we won't. But there's been loads of conversations about tone, about, the angry atheist versus the diplomat, firebrand, et cetera. And I've always pointed out that not only are there many different avenues, and they're all potentially sound in the sense that people are going to be reached in different ways.
Yeah.
I'm doing a video this week, which is tentatively called Church House Rock, where I talk about how, as a kid, listening to the Schoolhouse Rock things taught me all kinds of stuff. Churches do it too. And, I joked earlier about you being the subversive secular music drug dealer. But it's true that we're getting more and more of our news from comedians, or at least comedians who are relaying news.
Yeah.
We've gotten so many of our ideas and advanced so many social changes through music. And there's a part of me that worries that it might be slightly dishonest in the sense of, maybe somebody likes the idea because they like the song. But it may just be the case that the song puts people in a place where they think differently. And so you can reach people with a message in a song that if you just said it might not have any impact, or might even start an argument.
Yeah, I think it makes you more open when you're listening to something that melody and music is emotional. So it's engaging with you in a way. If you're having an argument with someone, you're really you're in defense mode. But when you're hearing something that's engaging with your emotions, I think you're a bit more open.
That could be maybe today. if I go a little bit
We can sing
stern,
to everyone.
you can just sing your thoughts to people as they call in.
Or I could sing what you have to say and then see if they
we get-
take it better from me.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, so if we get two calls with the same question, I'll answer one as the angry atheist that everybody thinks that I am, and then you can sing the same thing. All right. We're going to start off with someone who identifies as Holy Rebel in Jacksonville, Florida. You're on with Matt and Shelley. How are you?
I'm good. I've been looking forward to this, man.
Okay. What do you got for us? It says here that you're a prophet, and there's something about current evidence for the existence of God.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I want to start off by saying this. I sent you an email a while back, and I was basically, it was last week. I just discovered you guys last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I've been losing sleep ever since. I've discovered you because this is my ministry. Like, you're still looking for evidence, correct?
Always.
Yeah, okay. So,
Did I reply to your email?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I believe it was John or something of that matter. But
Okay.
man, this is the core to my ministry. I don't only just have evidence, but I also teach people that listen to what I preach. I teach them how to get the evidence on their own also, and it all comes from off the Bible, King James Version, might I add.
Okay.
But man, I am excited.
We might have a big problem because the Bible isn't evidence. The Bible makes the claims.
I got you. Well, check this out. Let me show you.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I've watched like almost like 100 of your videos. I'm telling you, like I actually kind of, I think that, because me and you, I said in the email, we're a lot alike. Like so. Well, number one, let's get this clear. I'm a prophet, and I'm gonna show you guys.
I don't know what that means. I know what it means. I don't necessarily know what you mean by it. So you can either explain that or you can go for the evidence.
I'm explaining it to you.
Okay.
God revealed to me things that's going to happen.
How does this revelation happen? Do you hear a voice? Do you get an image in your head? Do you just get a feeling? Do you open a book randomly and it falls on a prediction? What?
Good question. No, sir. It comes through prophetic dreams when I go to sleep.
Okay.
Here and there, not all the time.
How can you tell the difference between your regular dreams and the dreams that are prophetic?
Well, they are very clear. It's almost like I wake up in cold sweats because it's almost like I was there in real life. So when I wake up, like flipping out, things of that matter, I know like, wow, that was a prophetic vision. And I'm gonna tell you, let me show you the difference on how God used me to do it. And I've been doing this since, because I've been getting prophetic visions since 2011.
Okay, I got a couple of quick questions. Because Shelley had asked how you can tell the difference, and you basically described that it essentially feels different, that you wake up and you're aware that.
Yeah.
So let me ask a couple quick questions. Do you keep a dream diary?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to.
Cool.
What I do. And as soon as not all the, like I say, only the prophetic, only the ones that come strong like that. Let me tell you what I do.
Sure.
I get my phone when I wake up and I record them and I send it to my Gmail.
Okay.
That's documented proof.
Sure. So you have a dream. You record what was in the dream.
Right.
How do you tell whether or not they've come true, and what percentage of them come true?
Okay. Now let me show you how it works. I don't get them all the time. Can I give you the backstory and let you know how I got to this point?
Sure.
Because me and you a lot similar. I received Christ in 2004. Okay. Now before I received Christ, I was a country boy out smoking, drinking, getting high. I smoked the lace blunt before and all this and that. But one thing I remember telling God when I got saved, I said, God, let me tell you something. I'm going to give my life over to you. But all of that fake stuff that I saw growing up in the church and all that hallucinating, I'm not doing that. I need to really see your power because when I was over there getting high and drunk, that was a supernatural experience. So my mindset was, now that I'm over here in you, I'm not going to, is somebody going to lay hands on me and I'm going to fall? No, none of that. No. I need to see the real power of you because if the devil's real and if that was real over there and I never hallucinated and getting high, I'm not going to do it over here. So I received Christ in 2004. From 2004 all the way up to 2011, I did the church thing, just like you mentioned before. I went to church, studied for ministry. I even went to Bible college. But I never received the feeling of the Holy Ghost. And one thing, me and my wife hit rock bottom. We were basically broke, things of that matter. And God revealed to me, he said, Terrell, I want you to drop all that prosperity word that you heard, all those things that you could think of, and I want you to focus on the commandments of Jesus Christ. He said, read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. When we got serious about that, within that same week is when God started giving us prophetic visions. And that was in 2011.
So how did he how did he
Go ahead.
tell you to concentrate on the commandments if it was before the visions?
What it was, we started reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So we started right there in the book of Matthew.
No.
Reading it.
Hang on.
What you're saying?
Hang on a second, Rebel, because there's a couple things to clear up. What Shelley's asking is, if God speaks to you through prophetic dreams, how did God speak to you to tell you to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John before you were getting prophetic dreams?
I believe God revealed it to me in prayer. You know, the thing is
in what? Sorry,
in prayer, but
He reveals to me in prayer. Yeah, I felt it. You know, in prayer, we feel that God speaks to us and things of that matter. It's not like solid, like I can write it down, but my evidence is going to show that God spoke to me because let me jump straight to it.
Okay.
There's a shooting that took place down in Florida, in Parkland, Florida.
Yeah.
Right? Correct? Are we both aware of that?
Yes.
One that took place in Valentine?
Yes.
Okay, God revealed that to me months before it happened. There was a rapper by the name of XXXTentacion. He was shot and killed down south of Florida. He was shot in his neck. God revealed those specifics to me months, like 6 months before that happened. And once again, like I told you, I sent my stuff to my Gmail.
What were the specifics? What were the specifics that were revealed, and how could we possibly verify that?
The specifics is let's talk with XXXTentacion. Are you familiar with this rapper?
I've heard the name, but I don't know anything.
Yeah, he's a well-known rapper from out of Florida. Well-known. He's TMZ top, all that. But let me tell you what happened. Now, I didn't reveal everything. I put the short version of that vision up because, like I said, the case is still going. I'll tell you this. If I put everything up that I saw in that vision, I may need security for me and my family. I'm a regular guy, and I'm not going to really play those games. But let me tell you.
No.
He showed me he was going to get shot in the neck. I saw that, and I put that in that vision.
And where is this recorded so that people can verify that you got this prediction before the events?
My YouTube channel is Holy Rebel Movement.
Okay, and you have a video up. You have a video up before the Parkland shooting that specifically says this particular rapper is going to get shot in the neck.
Right. I got it all up, and I got another product. These are prophetic visions I want you to see. I got another one. There's three I want you to look at real closely.
Well,
I have a cousin. That passed away.
You don't have to give
police officers.
You don't have to give three.
I'm excited. You got it. Yeah, you got to understand. I'm very excited, man.
I get it,
like
but
I said, this is what I.
So
yeah,
there's a number of problems here. Number one is obviously I'm in the middle of a show, so I can't go out and verify that your video says exactly what it does. But if God revealed to me that Shelley was going to get shot in the neck, why the fuck would I not go and save Shelley from getting shot in the neck?
I would hope you would.
I'm glad you said that. And let me explain this to you. Now let's look at how God gives prophecies. Okay. Now let's look at you're very familiar with the word, with the scriptures. Let's look at like Genesis 37. Joseph was given prophetic visions, but they were specific and symbolic. Watch. So the thing is, he was talking about the sheaves in the field, but his brother's interpretation was, hey, look, you're going to be over us and things of that matter. So when it all played out, he was over them, but it had nothing to do with sheaves. So
yeah, that's called interpreting after the fact.
Right. So what I'm telling you.
So in order for something to be considered a prophecy, it needs to be specific. It needs to be answerable by a single set of circumstances. It can't be something that people are working towards, and it can't be interpreted after the fact. So if, for example, a month before the shooting, you posted a video that says, hey, I got a prophetic dream from God last night that this particular rapper is going to get shot in the neck in the next month or whatever, that would truly be impressive. But how do you know how you got it right?
I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, God didn't reveal to me that it was that actual rapper. He just revealed to me that it was a rapper / actor that was going to get shot.
Okay, whoa. Because a minute ago I asked you if your video specifically said this rapper is getting shot in the neck, and now you're saying that the revelation you got was that some rapper or actor was going to get shot.
No. I said rapper / actor. He is a rapper and an actor. at the same time.
Okay,
You do
but
both.
see, we're already way deep into the bullshit here, because if I say a rapper / actor is going to get shot, that covers a lot of ground. And if a rapper gets shot, I can claim that as a hit. And if an actor gets shot, I can claim that as a hit. And if
Not
a
the
rapper,
neck.
no, this
That's why I
is
got
just
you
a
in the neck.
fact. This is just a fact that
Show me a rapper that got shot in the neck and died.
you're not paying attention. I'm sorry.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you. Show me a rapper that got shot in the neck.
That's
and died.
not relevant to what I'm saying.
It has to be
That's what I mean when I say you're not paying attention. I'll try it again. If
are you doing this for money, or are you
if-
doing this
if-
for entertainment, or do you really want to answer? Do you really want evidence? Because I'm giving it to you.
No, you're not. That's what I'm trying to explain. That's what I'm trying to explain, but you're not paying attention. Let me try this again. If I made a prediction that a rapper / actor was going to get shot in the neck,
Right.
did your prediction include a time or a place?
It included in this vision. I saw him. He was wearing a jacket. Now this happened June the 18th.
This is not my question. I'm asking you.
Listen to all the specifics and what I saw.
I don't give a rat's ass about the jacket. I'm asking a specific question.
You want to make money, man. You're trying to make money.
I do this shit for free, dumbass.
Okay, well, don't you get paid to go do your appearances?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, are you going to actually answer the question that I asked?
God, you weren't Holy Ghost filled. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I was
Correct. I was not holy rebel. Stop.
And you watched 100 of his shows. You watched 100 shows and decided that he was genuine and called in. And now when you're hearing the answers that you don't want to hear, you're saying it's for the money. So be honest. Be genuine.
No. What I'm saying is he got the same mind I have. I'm like, God, I don't want to play these games.
I'm asking you questions and you're not answering them. You're answering other stuff. I asked you in your prediction about a rapper / actor getting shot in the neck, did you include a time?
No, I didn't. I don't need time. Did Joseph
Only
time in his push? Did Joseph
okay.
In the prophecies Joseph delivered? Did he improve? Did he put a time?
No, and you know what? I don't accept that as prophecy either. That's the point I'm making. If you're not going to give a time, then it's...
Well, reprobate mind then, sir.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, hey, look, I come in love, man. I don't want to fight you.
Then can we at least ask questions and get answers so that maybe I can show you why I don't accept that this is prophecy?
Go for it.
If I make a prediction that a rapper / actor is going to get shot in the neck, and I don't include a time frame,
okay,
then if it happens in a year, I was right. If it happens in a month, I was right. If it happens in 3 years, I was right. If it happens in 5 years, I was right. What are the odds that a rapper / actor, or a rapper or an actor, which is all the different ways that you can spin that, gets shot in the neck at some point?
Due to the specifics.
No.
And like I said, I got a lot of specifics.
Okay, stop. Due to the specifics is not even remotely close to an answer to the question I just asked.
But like I say, you show me a prophecy in the Bible when any prophet told you the time.
That's why I don't accept prophecies in the Bible. How hard is this to understand? You're pointing to shitty prophecies. Stop. You are pointing to prophecies that I consider to be shitty and not prophecies, and to say that they're in the same category as yours. I agree with you.
So check this out. I have another prophecy. My cousin was in a situation where he robbed the store with a hammer. And all of my prophecies, they get backed up by local news. I got the links under my videos. Holy Rebel Movement, once again.
You know, I predict things on stage all the time. I
understand that, but
okay.
He was...
Sorry, did you say you have...
Can you hear another prophecy? Can you hear another one? He went and he attacked. He robbed the store. It's the middle of the night. God gave me this prophecy months before, and you'll see my dates and everything. He robbed the store, and the police located him. It was in the middle of the night. He went and attacked the police officer with a hammer, a house tool. He went and attacked the police officer with a hammer. He missed. The police shot at him, missed him. He jumped in his car. He sped off and hit a tree. Head went through the windshield and he died.
Oh.
God revealed that to me months before, and you go check that prophecy. He revealed to me even how he was going to have a house.
Why didn't you try?
What specifically?
It wasn't. Listen.
Holy shit.
if you had a
Go ahead, go
prophecy,
ahead.
how
I don't like
come?
to hang up on people when you get packed in a wall.
I tell you what, I let you say your prophecy, and the second we had a question, you are immediately interrupting. If you want to do if you wanted you better fucking stop, or your prophecy about getting hung up on is going to come true.
Go for it. Go for it.
Shelley had a question.
I'm so sorry that happened to your cousin. That is a really awful tragedy. And I guess the first thing that came in my mind is if I had a prophecy that I really believed in, that I thought was possibly going to happen, I would do everything I could to try and prevent that. Did you do that? Did you just make a video saying that was going to happen and not try and stop it? Or did you try and stop it?
No, I'm telling you, God revealed to me that it was that specific cousin. He just revealed to me that a cousin of mine was going to get in a situation. He was going to have a house tool in his hand, and he was going to be running from a group of individuals, and one individual with an AK-47, and he had a house tool in his hand while this all went down.
Okay.
I'm telling you, that's exactly what happened. You can read it in the news store right up under my.
I don't need to read it. That's the thing.
And so
Why is God revealing useless information to you that you can't know anything about until after the fact?
Let me show you. Let me show you. In John chapter 14, 15, and 16, Jesus talk about, he say, if you keep my commandments, this is where me and you went wrong when it comes down to the church thing years ago. He said, if you keep my commandments, he said, then I'm going to pray to the Father, and he'll give you another comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, the Spirit of truth. And he said, the Spirit of truth will teach you all things, which will give you all the interpretation you need, because you all got a lot of questions.
Okay, so call back when you're taught all things.
And he said, no. And he said that that was a reference for you, because I know that you all have a lot of questions. But if you get Holy Ghost filled, he will teach you, though. He'll give you the answers. But like I said,
I hear this
he
from.
also say he will reveal to you things to come. That's the prophecy part. That's in John chapter 16.
Except that
He will reveal to you things to come.
So Matt was trying to give you his requirements for what would be a valid prophecy, and what would constitute something that counts as a prophecy rather than a guess.
You can't say it's from God if I can fucking duplicate it.
You can't duplicate. Okay, go ahead. Put a prophecy out with actual specific things that you can expect to happen.
I'm hanging up on you in 10 seconds.
Absolutely.
Does that count as a prophecy? Does it count as a prophecy? It's specific and with time. I'm asking.
You're doing this for money. You're doing this for entertainment. Because I just gave you proof. Have a good day. I knew you were doing this for entertainment.
No, you didn't, and that's why you called.
No, you didn't, and that's why you're trying to run away, because you don't have an understanding.
I'm not hanging up.
I'm not
hanging up.
Okay, now you're on hold. I haven't hung up, so you're wrong. If you'd let me finish, I was pointing out that I could say, as I did, I'm going to hang up on you in 10 seconds. That's its prediction about the future. It has a time, and it may or may not come true. How can we tell the difference between you getting some vague hint of a message that after things happen, you interpret as if God gave you a message? How many of those messages come true? What's the percentage? I understand what you're saying, that if God gives you a message and you are convinced later on it comes true, this will convince you that you're getting a message from God, but it's not and should not convince anyone else any more than if I make a prediction at a magic show that shouldn't convince anybody else. Okay, whenever I ask a question that tries to get to how do we tell the difference between you felt some vague message and later interpreted it specifically, and then we want to drill down to how we could tell whether or not this is a prophecy. And even if you were correct, we still need a way to know that it's coming from God and not from some other source. Every time I ask a question about that, you just start talking over me and then say, I'm in this for the money.
Because you do it for you're disrespecting me, man. I didn't start this, but I actually planned to call and say, hey, look, you could call me after the show. We could be friends. We could talk more off air.
I'm not interested in the friends thing. Why are you not? Why are you not actually answering the questions that are asked?
Because you're saying, Terrell, you're saying, Holy Rebel, if God didn't give you a date of which these things are going to happen, it wasn't from God.
That is not what I. That is not. Stop. Listen to me very fucking carefully. That is not even that is not even remotely close to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's bye. I'm not saying that it's not from God. I'm asking you how you can be confident that it is from God. There's a very different thing. I'm not saying this person is innocent. I'm saying, why are you convinced they're guilty? Me asking you to demonstrate the reasonableness of your belief that you're getting prophetic message from God is not in any way me saying you are wrong, that's not from God. As a matter of fact, if you go back and listen to this entire call, neither of us ever claimed that you were wrong about where the source of your thing was. You just couldn't handle being asked the questions, which is why all of a sudden you brought up these distractions about Matt's just doing it for money. If I'm doing it for money, I should quit and find something else because this doesn't pay me. But so I've talked about prophecy a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that you've mentioned prophetic ideas in songs, and you were talking the other day, a great story about music being a religion. But if there are newspaper astrologists.
Yes.
There's the John Edwards, the speakers to the dead people. Then there are people who get prophetic dreams. If God had a message for you and just gave you a vague dream that a month and a half later some event happens and you're like, oh, I had a dream about this a month ago.
Yeah.
What would your takeaway from that be?
My takeaway would be that, I dream about a lot of different things and I don't really remember them because I'm not thinking about them. But then if something happened in real life that made me remember one of my dreams, you have that, whether it's about a major event or not, something happens during the day, you're like, oh, I dreamed about that. And I don't think, oh, I had a prophecy, I had a vision. I just thought, oh, that thing of the many millions of things I could possibly dream about was in my dream and also coincidentally happened during my day.
Yeah, this is something, it's like the James Randi Educational Foundation had the $1 million prize for years. And if somebody like Holy Rebel could actually do what they said they could do, then the first thing that would happen is they would agree on a test protocol. And something just off the top of my head that we could potentially try would be, okay, every time you have a prophetic dream, you write down every single detail that you have in that dream. And then when you think it's answered, an independent panel of judges will judge the accuracy of this. The problem is, let's say I have 10 prophetic dreams and they don't have time frames on them. So something happens and it seems like it's one of my dreams. Then I could say, I've had a prophetic dream. And then if I were asked, well, what percentage of your prophetic dreams have come true? Well, right now it's 1 out of the 10, so it's 10%. And I'm like, okay, well, how good of a success rate is that? Couldn't that be coincidence? Well, the other ones might come true too. And because they're open-ended, we have to wait forever. You have an unfalsifiable proposition. There's no way to say, oh, I had this dream and it was wrong. It's always, God answers prayer. It's just sometimes he says later. God makes prophecies. He just doesn't tell you when they're going to happen. And that is almost definitionally useless. No wonder he couldn't go, save. I'm not going to tell you, one of your cousins is going to die, one of your cousins is going to attack a policeman with a hammer, but I'm not going to tell you which cousin. First of all.
It's kind of cruel.
It is. It puts you in this position of, existential dread about what's going to happen. And, I'm pretty sure that if God came to me and said, one of your husbands is going to attack a police, or one of your husbands, one
of your many.
I got loads of husbands, baby. But if I got what I thought was a message from God saying one of your cousins is going to attack a police officer with a hammer, I could probably narrow it down. Like I've got a lot of cousins, but I could narrow it down to, a couple.
I didn't even think that. I was just like, I will tell every single one of my cousins. Yeah. Don't walk around.
Family meeting. I got a message from God. One of you is about to fuck up big time. Can we? And so the thing is, the problem with the prophecy is that let's say that you did gather all your cousins. Then you get to say, God gave me this prophecy and my cousins never did this because I went and told them. So the purpose of the prophecy was to prevent this from happening. But that's not. And to his credit, he wasn't saying that was the purpose of prophecy. The purpose of prophecy is to show him that he's right with God and so God's revealing stuff. But if God's revealing useless information and things that are open to interpretation, I just don't.
He had a lot to prove. Firstly, that, his prophecies were valid and verifiable, and then the next step of who is sending those prophecies? Why is it God? Why is it the God of the Old and New Testament?
How do you know it's not Doctor Who?
How do you know it's not the devil?
Grabbed a time machine, came into your bedroom at night, held up a little piece of psychic paper that gave you the dream to tell you what was going to happen. It's one thing, and I've mentioned this before, as somebody who does mind reading, mentalism sort of things on stage. I can make predictions and do tricks that seem impossible to people who aren't in the know. So the question I have to ask myself is, somebody made a prediction and it came true. Did it? Was it truly a prediction? Oh, it was in a sealed envelope over here, in full view the whole time. Okay, but did it change? Was it subject to interpretation? There's lots and lots of questions that we have to ask. And religions, Christianity in particular, have mechanisms that allow them to avoid this, like thou shalt not put the Lord thy God to the test.
Yeah.
If you can't put God to the test, then you can't ever have a warrant to conclude that God is reliable. This is, in another video, I was talking about this last night, something I'm working on, the fact that I can't know what it's like to be in somebody else's mind.
Yeah.
And if God is perfect and I'm not, I could never have any reason to reach the conclusion that God is in fact perfect. All I could ever do is say that people say God's perfect. It's like, here's a calculator, and I'm not very good at math, so I have no way of knowing if the calculator's giving me the right answer or not. And if you tell me this is a perfect calculator, and when I disagree with the result, that's because I'm a flawed being, I have no way to counter that. And yet I'm still in a position where I don't know if the calculator's accurate or not. I just have to take it on faith. That, to me, seems like it may be that case for a perfect calculator, but not for a God.
Because you can verify it on another instrument.
Yeah.
But there's only one God.
But if I was God, then, I couldn't even demonstrate to somebody that I was perfect. Like, I'm a perfect being, and you're imperfect and broken. How can I possibly demonstrate to you that I am in fact perfect without making you perfect as well? Because if I don't do that, you could always be wrong about whether or not I'm perfect. It's weird.
Yeah.
But, all right, we've got Derek in Nevada. Thanks for waiting. You're on with Matt and Shelley.
Hello?
Hey.
Hi, Derek.
Hey, is my mic okay? I get some complaints about my mic quality, so I just wanted to check on it.
It's a little bit fuzzy.
Sounds like you're muffled a bit, but we can at least understand you.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so there's a caller who's been calling in recently. His name is, he called in as EF, and on one occasion he called in as Evolution False. I just wanted you guys to know, I totally respect your decision not to talk to him, Matt, because I've known this guy for 7 years, and I've known him going back to a platform called Pal Talk. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah, I know about Pal Talk.
Yeah, I've known him, and his aim is just to go around humiliating atheists, and he's totally motivated by, he engages in motivated reasoning. I mean, I'm a Christian, and I've engaged him on several occasions, and he's not interested in issues of truth or anything like that. And if you want to see more about him, there are 2 YouTube channels.
I don't need to.
By Darth Dawkins.
I don't need to.
Yeah.
One of the things is, I know he's called in to Talk Heathen a few times, and at one point I would have been, happy to at least have a conversation with him because, he's basically retreading tired old presuppositionalist type of things. But somebody pointed out that there's a recording of him on his, and I probably shouldn't give specifics because I haven't listened to it myself, so I can only go what I've heard secondhand, but I don't assert what people's motivations are. I wouldn't say that the prophet that we just talked to, he's accusing me of only doing this for the money. I would never say he's only doing this, calling in so that he can get internet famous, or that he is only calling in so that he can get a blooper reel to put on his own YouTube. I don't know what his motivations are. I generally assume people are interested in honest conversations, but I did hear that the Darth Dawkins dude or whatever on his, what's the voice chat thing they were using? Somebody can tell me. Discord had basically encouraged people to call in to kind of prank call the show, but he also, I don't know, somebody verified what I was told, that he was using words like tranny and faggot in describing
Yeah, that's right.
and describing how they should. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, I have no interest in speaking with this person because it's a waste of my time to spend energy on people who think like that. So if he's just trolling, even if he was serious, even if he wanted to have a conversation, the fact that he thinks in those terms and was encouraging that sort of thing, I got better things to do.
Yeah, that video is on Tom Rabbit's channel, Tom and Rabbit with like 3 T's at the end of it. And if you wanted to see it, you could see it. I mean, there's a person who was part of sort of the great debate community. I don't know. I think that you've met with Steve McRae and maybe talked to him a little bit. I think that you and he had some sort of dispute recently or something. But
yeah, Steve.
But he was on. There's a person on there, Laura, who used to be called Cliff Jumper, and she recently transitioned. And he was just making these like disgusting references towards her. I'm not anything like that, I think that he gives Christianity a bad name, and I don't think
So why don't we stop talking about the transphobic douche nozzle and then talk about something else?
Right. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So the more I sort of have been thinking about it, the more I think that I can like build just a kind of coherent framework of theism that has access to a lot of explanatory power that atheism doesn't really have access to. And I know you're sort of partial to the definition.
I didn't understand what you say. What is it that theism has access to that atheism doesn't?
So I think it has a breadth of explanatory power that atheism doesn't. So I'm basically thinking.
Well, I would agree that theism is an attempt to explain something that atheism does not attempt to explain. But when we talk about explanatory power, we explain the unknown in terms of the known. We can't solve a mystery by appealing to a bigger mystery. So God has no explanatory power. It's functionally identical to Magic Man done it, Magic Pixies done it.
Well, I think that you believe that, but I don't think that that's true. And I agree with you that you explain the unknown in terms of the known, and that's why I think that you can.
Okay, so show me a known God, and I'll accept it as an explanation.
All right, sure. I have to go through a few arguments. I hope you're okay. Can I just ask you, how would you feel about are you invested in being an atheist or anything like that, or if theism is true, do you want to be a theist?
I'm invested in the truth.
Yeah,
I'm invested in knowing what's real and what's not real.
Okay. All right. I mean, I have a few premises that I can see being sort of objectionable. I'll sort of go through them and kind of explain my reasoning along those lines. The first is a modus tollens argument, and I can understand that. I can understand a modus tollens argument.
Okay.
It just takes,
just do it.
It just takes the form. Okay. All right. Sure. So. If atheism is true, then naturalism is true.
Well, we have to stop. We have to stop.
Okay.
And it's in part because there's terms that need to be defined.
Yeah.
So instead of saying if atheism is true, I would think that what you would want to say is if there is no God, because atheism is the position of being not convinced there's a God, and it's inclusive of being convinced there are no gods, but it's not necessarily an assertion that there is no God. So wouldn't it be better to start with the premise that says, if there is no God, then X?
Yeah, that's just what I mean by atheism.
Yeah, but that's not how we use it, and there's tons of confusion. So if it's far more clear to just say, if there is no God, then.
All right, okay, so that's fine. I don't have any problem. If there is no God, then naturalism is true. Naturalism is false. Therefore, there is at least one God. That's
okay.
That's the first argument. And
so naturalism is false is a big fat assertion.
Yeah. So that's the second premise, and so I basically take that to be justified by something called the rule following paradox. I don't know if you've ever heard of the rule.
I'm having a hard time understanding you, but go ahead, demonstrate that naturalism is false, and we'll call and get your Nobel Prize.
Okay, well, So I don't think that the Nobel Prize is like a scientific award, to my understanding.
Is,
But
is
I
that
think
how
that that's
Obama got
through
his
medicine.
Nobel Prize, was through science? There's a lot of potential.
Well, I could be wrong.
If you don't think that
I could be wrong.
Yeah,
if,
there's the.
I might be,
if you don't think that demonstrating that naturalism is false wouldn't get you something the equivalent of a Nobel Prize, I don't know what to tell you, because you're essentially claiming naturalism is false when that's still one of the biggest open questions in all of philosophy. And by the way, if you're talking about philosophical naturalism, that's the position that the supernatural isn't real. That's functionally different from methodological naturalism, which is just we don't have the capacity to investigate beyond the natural.
No, so I think that you can't. I think that non-natural causation would be something that's not accessible through sciences, right? Because I think it's
Okay,
underdetermined.
so let me make sure I understood
agree with
this.
that.
I want to make sure I understand. I want to make sure I understand this. You just said you think that non-natural causes are something that cannot be confirmed.
Not through sciences, no.
What other way would there be to confirm?
Well, I think that there's the same way intentional explanations are sort of underdetermined by physical facts. So are things like historical facts. So it would be along the same lines that there are certain predictions that you would expect on intentional hypotheses or non-natural hypotheses. And I said non-natural because I take the intentional to be non-natural, and that's basically what my argument is about. But so I want to avoid the question begging, but I think that you can still make predictions. It's just that those predictions aren't law-like like they are in the sciences. So it would be similar methodology based on predictions, and you can have inferences and you can have justified beliefs, but it's not a law-like generalization, right? So like if some prediction isn't borne out by some intentional explanation, it doesn't show that that intention wasn't there, for example, or that non-natural cause, if you want to put that
Okay,
way.
but it's
So I
not
have an
our
argument.
it's not our job to show that the intentionality wasn't there. It is the job of those proposing that the intentionality is there to demonstrate that that's the case.
Well, no, so I think that I take evidence to be sort of parasitic on disconfirmation as well. So like if you expect to see something on the truth of some hypothesis, you can conclude that when you don't see that observation, that hypothesis is not true. I mean, all things being equal. I think there are a lot of caveats that the philosophy of science has made, right?
That's
Like
massive caveats. So if you take it to something like, if Matt was cheating at cards, I would expect him to win. But that expectation may be false. It may be that Matt is cheating at cards and I'm cheating with a partner and they're the ones that are winning. So
right.
it's,
No,
Playing strip poker.
I agree. I think
but the way to demonstrate that I am in fact cheating at cards has nothing to do with, well, if Matt was cheating, I would expect this. You would actually need evidence for the proposition that I'm cheating, not merely this is something that would be consistent. Because when we talk about things like the origins of the universe, it may or may not be consistent with a God. In fact, I would argue that there are plenty of proposed gods that, while they're at least hypothetically capable of creating a universe, would have no interest in creating a universe. So you can't do the on theism, we would expect there to be a universe, when it's possible that on theism, we would expect there to not be a universe.
Well, I haven't gotten to my argument yet.
We're still the first one. I'm trying to figure out how you falsified naturalism.
Right, and I can give you, I was going to give you an argument, but then the conversation sort of went a different direction. And
all I asked for, fine,
kind of
how did you falsify naturalism?
Right, so I think the basic idea, I haven't formalized the rule-following paradox, so you'll have to kind of bear with me. I'll explain the premises, but the rule-following paradox is that if you take a rule and a deviant rule, so like an example is plus and quus, and the idea with those is that if you add numbers together, then they give you some total. So for example, 2 + 2 is 4, and that rule is going to be the same for something like, or similar at least, for something like a rule we're calling quus. And the quus rule is that for every what would be in other cases addition above the integer 50, you're going to return the result 4. So like you can see that in like a programming language, like you have an idea of what that would be, right? So if I do 25 and 26, then I'll get 4 back, right? But if I do 25 and 26 and we're following the addition rule, then what we'll get back is 51. So you kind of understand what I'm saying there?
Yes, this is sounding very much like, hey, there's a pattern here that doesn't fit, so I'm going to come up with an ad hoc explanation for it, and as long as it's consistent with it, then I'm going to claim that I'm right.
Well, see that, like right there, you're projecting motivations, and like in the beginning of the call, you said that you weren't going to do that.
I'm not saying that's what your motivation is. I'm saying that this is what that sounds like. So the way to demonstrate that there's actually a rule change after 50 is to get the data and assess for a rule change after 50. It's like when there's one of the best puzzle games of all time is Jonathan Blow's The Witness. And one of the things that it does is it teaches you how to solve panels. There's no instructions. There's nothing. You begin by kind of experimenting, and then you figure out the rules for the things that are going in the pattern. And later on in the game, you will find that there are exceptions to the rules. But the way to discover what the rules are and what the exceptions are is through testing. So we're not outside the realm of scientific inquiry here at all.
Well, I'll explain that, right? Because I think that in that response, you beg the question, and I think I'll explain why.
Okay.
So the idea is that
I don't know how I could possibly beg the question when all I've done is ask questions about your position and then point out that what you described is not sufficient to establish a pattern. It's functionally identical. It's functionally identical to an ad hoc.
Well, if you want to know why I think you're begging the question, I'll explain that if you want. Or I can move on and I can just continue to explain the argument, but it's up to you.
Well, I still want to know how you falsified naturalism. And by the way, I'm not going to. I have a guest. I have it. Try harder. Falsify naturalism.
Well, listen. Yeah, you're going to have to follow the line of reasoning in order for me to do that. I mean,
define naturalism. Define naturalism.
All that exists is studyable by the natural sciences.
No.
That's what I defined it as.
Okay. That's not the definition that I am aware of.
Oh, well, we can work with your definition. I mean, tell me if you think that there's something inconsistent. Like, I'm fine.
So, were you saying that if atheism is false, so if there is no God, then it's not like then there is nothing that
all things that exist are studyable by the natural sciences.
Okay, no. Okay, this is a huge problem because naturalism, philosophical naturalism, is the assertion that the natural world is all that exists. It has nothing to do with the method by which you can study it. That's methodological naturalism. And methodological naturalism does not assert that everything that exists can be studied through the natural exploration. All it does is recognize that we have no way to investigate things beyond the natural. So you're real quickly, you're conflating three different things, and this is why the initial argument, which was essentially if there is no God, then naturalism is true, and then your second premise is naturalism is false. Well, naturalism, in philosophical sense, is only natural things exist. So now your argument becomes if there is no God, then only natural things exist. And then premise 2 is something other than natural things exists. Therefore,
yeah. So can I mean,
what is the thing other than naturalism that exists?
Well, can I just real quick? When you say things like I guess basically what you're saying is that on the second premise, I kind of equivocate between types of naturalism, right? But if I can, like, I want to interrupt you when you say something that I think is wrong, but then you like continue talking, and it's like hard for us to have a dialogue that way. And so, like, if you're okay, if you say something that I object to and I try to interrupt, can you just like respect that, and then I'll do the same thing for you?
Yeah, that's what I thought we were doing. I didn't hear you trying to interrupt there. So, premise 1: if there is no.
So before we go on, because. So when you define naturalism, you said all that exists is natural, right?
That's philosophical naturalism, that only the natural world exists.
Right, yeah. So that is an uninformative definition. And so the reason it's an uninformative definition is because it incorporates the natural, which is what we are trying to figure out, right? Like
You're getting hung up on the words.
I gave my definition.
You're getting hung up on the words.
I'm trying to explain. I don't think it's getting hung up on
Fine.
the word because
Here,
what I'm trying to explain.
naturalism is the assertion that only physical things exist. Now, I didn't use the same word twice.
Okay, sure. And I think the analysis of physical there is going to be consistent with what I said, which is the physical is sort of things that are the law-like relations that are studied by the sciences.
No.
Right.
You're conflating what the ontology of what something is with the methodology by which we study it. You are conflating those two things. Stay away from the fucking methodology and just talk about the ontology.
Well, so I think that it's not really possible to talk about our conceptions of ontology without talking about our beliefs about ontology. And so I think that there's a property of the natural such that it implies that it's studyable, right? And so that's why I'm giving a sort of conceptual analysis of.
Okay, now we're into completely different territory. Is there something about the non-natural that implies it's not studyable?
There's no law-like relations. So the thing that's different about science is, and what they study is that there are law-like relations between the predictions and the laws, and that's not the case with things that are non-scientific that we can still make predictions about.
What? Give me an example of something not. Give me
so there's like
holy shit.
I'll give you an example. Yeah.
Well, you don't even. I didn't even ask. You don't even know what I want an example of. Give me an example of the best peanut butter.
The best peanut butter?
Give me an example. So you just were. So for me, when somebody says naturalism is false, that means they have some way that they can show that naturalism is not true, which means they can demonstrate that something supernatural is true. Correct?
Well, something non-natural.
Okay. I'm putting non-natural and supernatural as co-equivalent for this, but so give me an example of something non-natural that is true.
I believe that P. I think that's an example of something that's non-natural.
I believe what?
Non-natural true proposition.
We're done.
I think that
we're done. I asked for. I wanted an example of something non-natural, and all you did was give an abstract that has no content.
Well, I think that beliefs exist. Beliefs are concrete objects, and
beliefs are concrete objects.
Non-natural.
Beliefs are concrete objects.
Yeah, in the philosophical sense of concrete, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Beliefs are contingently true. They're not necessarily true. I don't necessarily have these beliefs.
They map to brain states.
Well, I think that that was what I was giving the rule following arguments specifically against. That view of naturalism.
Wow. So I don't know that we're going to get anywhere, and I don't think that I really want to waste more time, because when you say that naturalism is false, I'm expecting someone to provide an example of something non-natural that
No,
exists. Not, here's an abstract concept, because those things don't exist.
No, I think that beliefs exist, right?
Well, I don't.
I think that beliefs are not reducible to brain states.
Okay.
Well, we can talk about that.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I'm happy you believe that. But what you believe is not an example of something that is. Well, so, for example, if we remove every mind from the universe, are there still beliefs?
No.
Okay. So beliefs are contingent upon minds.
Of course beliefs are contingent upon minds. Minds are composed of beliefs.
So if beliefs are contingent on minds, how is that in any way a demonstration that beliefs exist as concrete things if they are in fact contingent upon minds and they have no substance or demonstration of their own? And by the way, how do I tell what you believe and how do you tell what I believe?
Okay, so there are a couple questions there. And your first question, I think, presupposes some confusions. So we'll talk about that, right?
I'm not presupposing anything. It's a question.
Yeah, but you're familiar with the term loaded question, right? Loaded questions have presuppositions.
Yes.
Right.
I'm presupposed. Well, never mind. Go ahead.
Right, and so when you say there are no minds, if there are no minds in the universe, then are there beliefs? The answer is no. But I take minds to be concrete objects composed of beliefs. So it's like saying something like, if there are no beliefs, are there no beliefs? The answer to that is trivial, right?
If I have a JPEG image on my hard drive, and that's the only place that it is, it's just a collection of ones and zeros that a computer then can interpret and display in a particular way, and I destroy that hard drive, does that image exist?
No.
Okay. If I still have the hard drive and it's not connected to any computer to interpret that and display the interpretation, does that image exist?
No.
Okay.
But I think that, what I think that you're doing there is you're trying to draw this analogy, you're trying to make an argument from an analogy for brains and minds, right? And I agree that, in fact, I think it's central to my view that brains can exist without minds.
I'm sure that it is. How could you? No, stop.
Can I just finish this last?
No. No.
Well, do you disagree with what I said about my?
Yes, that's the whole reason I'm interrupting. I thought we agreed that when we hit a point of disagreement, we were going to do the interruption thing. I'm not aware of any example of a mind existing absent a brain. Are you?
Well, I think God is that, and again, I think we want to talk about that because there's a lot of inferences that build to that.
Yes,
right?
And compound inferences are as bad as compound interest. That's another video that I'm doing this week, by the way, so thanks for letting me get that out. But you're convinced that there is a mind absent a brain. How could you demonstrate that?
I'll continue to give the account if you want, but we stopped at when I was laying out the rule following paradox. So if you want to go back to the rule following paradox,
no,
and then
I want you to demonstrate a mind without a brain. Because
how am I supposed to do that without giving?
That's not my fucking problem. You're the one that's convinced you have.
Give the argument.
Goodbye.
I'm trying to give the.
If you call in because you have a position and you give a reasoned argument, you don't get to complain. How could I ever demonstrate it? That's the point. Sorry. That was a philosophical parade of confusion.
Yeah, it's not my area of expertise.
Pick the next person we want to talk to.
Okay. Let's talk to Grant from Chattanooga, just because that is the coolest sounding city ever.
Yeah, and it's not far from Cleveland. How are you, Grant? You're on with Matt and Shelley.
Hi, I'm well. Good afternoon.
Hi, Grant.
Can you guys hear me all right? I've got a headphone on so I can hear you better.
It's a little scratchy, but I think we'll figure out a way through. Go ahead.
Over here to like regular phone style. Maybe it'll be better. I watch you guys a lot, and I like you, Matt. I haven't seen you on here before, Shelley, but I'm glad to.
It's her first time.
Nice to meet you, Grant.
Oh, very cool.
But I think you have a good question for her.
I have been in a crisis of faith here probably for the last 2 years. As I ended my studies in biology at college and got into watching the Atheist Experience, I started questioning my beliefs, caring about what was true, all the sort of things that you talk about. But what I've found is that I'm sad. I don't have prayer to carry my burdens the way that I used to, and I'm having a hard time replicating that through any other means. I mean, I've tried meditating, and I don't know. It's just I had this foundational thing, this religious experience that was, convincing to me for forever, and once I questioned whether I could know that was God or not, I'm just in this pickle of I don't know what to do with it. So I guess my main question is kind of how do you deal with the loss of your faith? It feels like I'm mourning something kind of, and I'm trying to get it back, but I've been convinced sort of otherwise, so I can't unlearn what I've thought.
I get
have a
it.
hard time putting it in words, but
And I think you are mourning.
Yeah, I'm really sorry that you're having a difficult time with that. It's something I've been through myself. You have this worldview that is a deep comfort to you in a lot of different ways, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And I think the same as mourning, a person or something in your life, like mourning. It's a mourning period, and it can end. Is there a part of it that which part of the prayer was the most comfort to you that you're missing? Is it having somebody answer?
not even answers. It's just when the world gets too heavy, I could unload some of my burden onto.
All right, I'm gonna say some things, and I promise they're not intended to be insulting, but when the world gets too heavy for some people, and they reached out to an invisible friend, and then later they find out that they didn't have any good reason to think that invisible friend was there, of course they're going to mourn that friend. But the one thing that helps you get past that is to realize that you were previously engaged in delusion and now you're not. And that is the reward. It's like a great quote from Dennis Lubay years ago when people asked, when somebody gives up their religion, what do you replace it with? And Dennis's answer, without missing a beat, was, when you cure cancer, what do you replace it with? The curing of cancer is the reward. The no longer being in the state of delusion is a reward. And you're probably going to go through other stages too, where instead of just mourning, you're probably going to be angry, because the example I've used before is if you've been told for the first 18 years of your life that on your 18th birthday you were going to inherit $1 billion, and then you get to 18 and somebody says, "No, we were just kidding." I mean, you're going to be really disappointed. But the one thing that you can at least take comfort in is that you didn't continue living your life as if there were not going to be financial worries in the future. Now you are actually engaged with reality, and you have to deal with reality on reality's terms. And when I look back, all those times where I prayed because, I had no answers. I didn't know what to do. I was flailing about and, oh, God, please help me. God never helped. There was never any interaction from God to do this. It was something that I did that made me feel better. It was a way of avoiding the facts of reality. It was a way of saying, I can't deal with this. I can't cope with this. You deal with it for me. And if, in fact, through all those times there was no God actually doing anything, then you could accomplish the exact same thing on your own.
I've thought about that, and I've tried. So if I got this relief from prayer, and it turns out it was just me all along, then I should be able to just replicate that, right? But there's a placebo effect or whatever that it doesn't take,
Right. But if you found out that you thought you were getting better because you were on an actual medicine, and then later on you found out that you were actually on a placebo, well, now taking the placebo is probably not going to be effective now that you know that it's a placebo. Maybe it does. I know that there are some studies that show that it might be. But the bigger thing is, if you know it's a placebo, why would you ever keep taking it? Because clearly it wasn't having the effect. The effect was coming from somewhere else.
Well, I don't know it's a placebo. Just for some background,
Fair enough.
If you'd like to know what my foundation was, like, I didn't get indoctrinated as a kid or anything like that, but there was an altar call at some church when I was 15, and I went up there and I had this, heavy experience that I would have called the Holy Ghost at the time, like felt hands on my face, and I felt like hot oil kind of pour down my head, and just this overwhelming, like, peace, and also just sadness that I hadn't, like, came to it sooner or something. And it's not tied to any specific, like, book or something. Like, I didn't feel trapped by it. It didn't keep me from doing anything. It just, it was just like he was there, and now he's not.
But, okay, I'm not, and I realize I probably messed this up earlier. I'm not saying that you were wrong that when you thought that God was there. It's just that you've come to the realization that you can't be confident that you're correct, which to me is actually an argument against God, because if there was a God and he gave you this feeling and then later on you couldn't be confident that it came from God, then doesn't God have the responsibility to demonstrate to you that it was in fact God? I mean, if somebody started getting text messages from me or from someone they thought was me, and then they began to doubt whether or not it was me based on, the conversation or lack thereof. If I care about them, isn't it then my responsibility to verify that it is in fact me?
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where I was going with the notion that it doesn't make sense that there's a God that would,
That's what I was, I've been hopeful for in investigating all of this, that, that if I've been endowed with a brain to research myself and think and dig and study, that it's, I should be asking questions, but if I talk to my, religious people I know, they're just like,
well, let me ask Shelley, because
God and quit asking. You should have not got into it. You opened a can of worms, I guess.
I guess, but I mean, Shelley mentioned that she had feelings like that. How did you get past it, or have you?
I wrote music about what I was going through. Actually, that's what I was going to ask you. Are there things that you love that give you a lot of joy, that make you feel better? Are there people in your world that you can talk to that maybe feel similar things or have been through something similar that can help, that you can relate to?
I'm kind of have had a hard time finding people that feel the way I do about it. Honestly, they seem like they're either pretty gung ho atheists or gung ho believers.
I think there's a lot of different communities.
You mentioned recovering from religion
online,
earlier.
Yeah, recovering from religion. I'm not sure if they have a chapter in Tennessee, but
there's online resources.
Yeah,
with
you
them.
can check it online, and they'll show you if there's groups, local organizations in your area.
And the
also the secular,
yep.
Exactly. There's someone that you can talk to who sort of understands where you're coming from and the secular perspective, which might be really helpful if you're grieving.
And they're experts, but one thing is that what you're feeling is normal. It doesn't happen to everybody. Like I know atheists who were raised in a religious denomination who have been atheists for 20, 30 years, and they still wake up at night with a nightmare about hell, and it seems real. Their intellectual mind understands that I don't have any reason to think this is real, and yet it doesn't change the fact that it's potentially scary.
Yeah.
And then there's other people like me where I walked down the aisle at the age of 5. I was active in church all the way through my teen years. I never really had a big fear of hell because I always thought that I was going to heaven from the age of 5 on. And then when I realized that I didn't have any reason to think any of this was true, I asked myself, which other religions' hells had I bothered being afraid of, and which other heavens have I tried to seek? And so maybe you are feeling the loss of being able to pray to the God that you believed in formerly, but you're not feeling a loss from the opportunity to pray to God you didn't believe in. I don't know how that's helpful.
I'm curious too. Was it kind of like you're wanting to go to heaven and fear of hell that motivated you to believe it initially, or or is it just like a personal relationship or a mix of both?
I just believed it because that's what I was told. All the people around me, my parents, my school, my community, everyone around me believed it. And I was very trusting and didn't really understand skepticism or critical thinking at the time. So I didn't have any reason to challenge those ideas. And then I developed this personal relationship with this person in my head that I was talking to. And I definitely grieved it when it was gone. And I grieved the loss of concepts of heaven or things that I'd held on to my whole life, thinking, I'm going to get to see my grandfather again one day. When I say there were so many areas to grieve, coming to terms with my own mortality, realizing that, when people die, I'm not going to get to see them again. And so, I mean, for me personally, focusing on what I did have and on this one life that I know I have for sure, and focusing on gratitude and talking about it and thinking about it, eventually that deep sadness did go away.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you chatting.
Yeah, I mean, by all means, reach out to Recovering from Religion. Maybe check out Psychotherapist Project. Look for some online resources. I know there are atheist groups in the Chattanooga area because I've met them. Beth is from Cleveland, so
Okay.
I've been in that area.
I found something like a humanist thing that meets around here. I thought about going to that. I've hit like about every church in the city the past 2 months trying to recapture something, and I can't seem to find what I'm looking for. So I'll try.
And
I'll try something else.
one of the things, and this is the way you phrased that, and I'm not going to beat up on it. I'm just going to point out the difference. When I got to a point where I realized that I didn't have good reasons for believing, I never experienced this, let me go find a way to get that back. I was immediately in the position of, wow, I no longer am wrong. I'm no longer believing something without a good reason. And so instead of searching for a way to get it back, I went searching for what other things can I discover? Is there... I can't possibly investigate every religion. I don't have enough time, so let me dig in on the philosophy to figure out what kind of God might exist so that it directs me in the right way. But it wasn't I need to find a way back to a God. It's I need to continue seeking what the truth is. And every time I learned something new about the way the world worked or some other position where I had clearly been wrong in my justification, not necessarily the conclusion, but wrong in the justification, that was like a dopamine hit every time.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, wow, I was thinking about this backwards. I remember somebody asked me, Seth asked this question the other day, and my favorite example is I grew up having been taught, hey, homosexuality is unnatural and immoral. And throughout my teens and probably a good chunk of my 20s, if I saw two men kissing, I'd have this visceral kind of, that's gross, kind of, the gut reaction. And I assumed that because this was a more visceral reaction, that it was a natural reaction. And as it turns out, it's a completely learned reaction that I didn't even know that I had learned it. You absorb so much from the people around you that you just assume. I remember when Dawn and Elton got married, and we went to the ceremony and everything else, and they jumped a broom and they kissed. And when they kissed, I was like, "Aw." And that's when I realized this was a learned thing, and I had managed to unlearn it.
I still struggle eating shrimp.
Yeah.
I've been indoctrinated that
that's
disgusting.
There may be a physical taste thing there for some people, but it showed that the foundation of why I believed something was wrong was not only, as I was to discover later, a naturalistic fallacy, but it was even worse than that because it wasn't actually a natural reaction. It was something that had been instilled in me by being around a bunch of homophobic bigots.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love to learn and to move forward. I mean, I studied chemistry and biology in school, and it's kind of my whole. That really it helped on going down this path of learning myself, But I don't know, man. I've tried some stuff, and I mean, things aren't particularly good otherwise in my life right now. It's a low point, but that doesn't help for feeling desperate. But.
Yeah. And you're not, so there's a bunch of bad things that happened in my life in the last 8 months or so. And they would have affected different people in different ways. That's the first thing to realize, is that the way you feel about what's going on isn't wrong. And you're not alone, even if it feels like it. You may not have some God person watching everything. That's probably one of the most harmful things that we've taught, is that if you feel alone, you're not alone. There's a God for you. And it may be the fact that you are alone because you're in this environment where the only friend that you had was a God, whereas there are actually people out there who would and probably do genuinely care about you and want to help. Even believers. Like, I have tons of friends who are not atheists, and I have family members who are not atheists, and I have people who care about me despite the fact that I clearly work for Satan and I'm leading people to hell. I mean, that's at least that's what they believe. It's finding out who you can and can't have those conversations with, because the unfortunate reality is that you can't have them with everybody. There are people in my life that I can't talk to about certain things because the only response I'm going to get from them is, well, that's God punishing you for living your sinful life. And that's that's such garbage, it would be a waste of my time to even respond to it.
Well, guys, I don't think I've got much more than that. I appreciate you chatting with me. I respect you a lot, man. I watch your show all the time, man.
Thank you. And I hope things get better for you, and I hope you find some people to reach out to. And if you don't, call us back, or call Talk Heathen, or call, whoever. Call the Ghostbusters.
You can call the Recovering from Religion hotline
Yeah,
as well.
there is a hotline for Recovering from Religion. And
a chat. They have a chat option as well.
there are trained people who know far more about this than Shelley and myself. And we just hope that you find an avenue that, and plus, it will take time. If you're, I don't want to do the "it gets better" thing as a cliche. Generally speaking, based on all the people that I've talked to over the years, and other people have as well, generally speaking, it gets better. It will never get back to normal, but it'll get to a new normal.
All the best.
Thanks a lot, Grant. I appreciate the call. Call us back sometime. Let us know how you're doing.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care. On that note, we're going to pause taking calls. If you're on the line, if you're on hold right now, we will take all four of the people until we clear out the queue. But I'm going to pause, and we're going to bring Rob in because, Shelley, why do we not have a copy of your album right here?
Oh, here it is.
Here it is.
All right, I got
It's
tech
called-
team. Insert the picture.
It's called Holy, and they're going to perform a song off of it right now, and I'm going to step out of the way.
Well, after that call, I sort of wish I was playing something really uplifting and motivating. But I guess in a way it is. This is a song from my new EP, Holy, and it is an indictment of religious hierarchy. So it's having a little bit of a dig, and it's called Holy Man. Here we go. Who is the holy man, and what does he believe? That we must cover up our bodies, we must show humility. I believe my body is beautiful and it belongs to me. What makes a holy man? What does he decree? There is an order to this place, and he's atop the hierarchy. I believe there's no one above me and no one underneath. But I'm a sinner, I'm a whore, I'm rotten to the core, and you're the holy man. Well, it's to you that he confides. You have God on your side, and you're the holy man. Yeah, you're the holy man. I hear the holy man, he's calling for our souls, that we must kneel, beg forgiveness like it's something that we owe. I believe our only stipulation is the kindness that we show. But I'm a sinner, I'm a whore, I'm rotten to the core, and you're the holy man. Well, it's to you that he confides. You have God on your side, and you're the holy man. Yeah, you're the holy man. Well, I'm a sinner, I'm a whore, I'm rotten to the core, and you're the holy man. Well, it's to you that he confides. You have God on your side, and you're the holy man. Yeah, you're the holy man. Yeah, you're the holy man. Thank you, Rob J. Robertson on the guitar.
Doesn't sound as good on the ukulele, so thanks, Rob. Thank you. That was awesome.
Thanks, Matt.
I hope everybody on the planet goes and buys her album so she can fill up massive venues and we can secularize the world through that stealth musical.
Yes.
So we got 4 calls that are on hold, and once those are done, we'll go ahead and finish the show. Technically, we were supposed to stop right now, but I want to get to the people who've been on hold. And as a reminder, this program is sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin. We're here at the Free Thought Library, 1507 West Koenig Lane. And after the show's over, where it was once upon a time, we would go take you to a nice restaurant or whatever. Screw all that. There's a community of people right here. Any atheist or atheist-friendly person's welcome to come down. We have food, we have drinks, we have a good time. Awesome. And man, it's already, every time we have a special guest, it's packed, but I'm particularly excited about today. But so we got 2 theists and 2 atheists. Let's start with a kind of easy one. Zach in Richmond, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Good to hear from you, Matt. I'm a big fan of you and been watching all your stuff for years.
Cool. I'll probably get this wrong, but go ahead.
Hey, so, man, I don't know how to start this. Mark Twain said truth is stranger than fiction.
Maybe.
And in the past about year, ran into a lot of deep history information, and it's just mind-boggling. So I thought I'd just throw some words out there to kind of get your mind thinking. So before the historical Babylonians, they were around 7,757 BC. Apparently, I've ran into a small group of online deep history researchers and stuff, and they say, history goes way before the Hebrews, before the Babylonians, and we have evidence of it in the Art Nova font and the Desdemona font of Shakespeare. And
so I'm completely lost because the call screener thing said you wanted to know what my definition of ontology was, and now we're talking about fonts that Shakespeare used and how that shows there was history that's old. I don't know how that.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it's really hard to preface it because it's sort of a gestalt understanding. You kind of have to get beyond.
I don't know how anything tied to Shakespeare could demonstrate that there was history before the Babylonians. I mean, there's something about that entire thought process that just doesn't make any sense.
Oh, okay. I can give you a straight answer.
It's like saying that a song Elvis wrote proves that Julius Caesar liked pickles.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'll connect the dot right now.
Okay.
So there's the idea that letters are like an exoteric for the main group of people who use them, and then there's an inner esoteric knowledge of what they're actually for to a small clique of people down through history. And Shakespeare is the idea of Jacques-Pierre. The idea of it's sort of like where we get the idea of I am from, or my name is from. I forget his name. Jim Appel. You know the word Jim Appel?
It's French.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we kind of get the idea I am from. The name, my name is I am. Anyways, to connect the dots.
I'm pretty sure the concept of existence and self existed long before French.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But that's the inner...
Then clearly French can't be where we got the concept from.
Yeah. There's an inner esoteric for the group who know where these ideas come from. And
I'm not interested in secret knowledge about languages and stuff like that.
Okay, I can go beyond that.
Well, I don't. So, beyond it, which direction? What is the point that we're trying to get to?
Well, I had a question on ontology because I'm trying to personally look deeper into history because I think that's actually where...
I don't know how that doesn't relate to history. So ontology is about what something is made of. What is its essence?
Right.
It's about, the ontology of my glasses or whatever. This is, I don't know how this relates to history. in this? I'm not even sure what you're asking. So try one more time.
Changes
Well,
over time.
I was able to go further deeper in the history research-wise by connecting truth to ontology. If that makes any sense, I can go deeper. Ontology, to me, was the preeminence for truth. The more ontological understanding you have of the world, the more transparent truth becomes.
Okay, so my knee-jerk reaction was just to call bullshit on that, but I would have been wrong. Because when we're talking about what is truth, I have a conformist view of truth, which is that truth is that which is consistent with reality. And so if you understood the nature of reality better, you would have a more true understanding of reality. But that has nothing to do with what the meaning of ontology that's...
Okay. I guess it was a word for the lack of a word I could think of. Because I studied mostly philosophy, then I just happened to run into this history of Babylonia, Carthaginians, Semites, and then before that, I found actual evidence of, to my best knowledge, of ancient peoples who were actually not that dumb as we think, as we're like predictively programmed to think. That the further back in time you go,
dumb's kind of I mean, it's first of all, it's a crappy word to just use in general because it's not really saying anything. The ancient people had an understanding of things. Our understanding is better, more accurate. If the claim is that ancient people had a more accurate understanding, then you'd need to actually find a way to demonstrate that.
Well, I do.
Okay, cool.
The Indian history. If you go into India, they talk about deluges, and they talk about fires in the sky.
Yeah, fires and floods we know about, and we know more than ancient people did.
Okay, let me try and put it in another way. They talk about man as being the kind of infinite clay.
But man isn't infinite or clay, so clearly they weren't right.
Right, they're not. I know they're not right. They're
okay, I'm trying to find this example of ancient peoples having a great understanding for something that we don't.
Well, I'm trying to tell you, mostly what I'm trying to tell you is allegory for something, inner truth that they understand.
Allegory isn't truth. Metaphor is not truth.
The allegory. The truth is behind the allegory. So
okay, then throw the allegory out so we can see the truth.
Yeah. So that there were ancient people, I think, based off my research, that weren't necessarily smarter than you and I. What I'm saying is that there may have been a group of people, based on my research, that were idiot savant. If you've heard of it, idiot savant.
Well, I just used the word savant. They exist now. It's entirely plausible that they've existed in various extents throughout our history. But when we're talking about, I'm not even sure what we're talking about, other than you were going to show that ancient people had some knowledge and wisdom that we no longer possess, or we've lost, or what?
Well, the Indians kind of hint that what happens is you have it rises and falls. It isn't like a one great intelligence.
What rises and falls?
What happens? Civilizations, ideas. It's not necessarily this linear thing. Their ideas, they rise. They create civilization. They have great. And the other thing I was going to tell you was the idea of certain particular thing. I did an interview with Alan Watt, and he a deep researcher into ancient history, and he was telling me about I have the video on YouTube too if you want to watch it. It's Alan Watt Talks with Zach with 3 Z's, and he goes into the basically where they used to live too in Ethiopia. He calls it used to be called Abyssinia, and the idea of Abyssinia is ABC. You have that's the kind of inner esoteric of the idea of Abyssinia was because you had A, B, and C, which is C is.
It reminds me of what I remember in Tanakh class in high school. We learned about how all the letters of the Hebrew alphabet have a numerical meaning, and then if you look at this word and you add up the numbers in this word and compare it to another word, and it sounds like, you're looking for a deeper meaning that's not there. Or
you can connect certain things, but there's, like I said, there's a theory called Gestalt theory.
Well, see, you can actually, here's the thing where I'm just going to call. I don't know what your point. No, Zach, stop. Stop.
No, okay, go ahead.
What year did you interview Alan Watts?
This year.
Because he died in 1973.
No. It's Alan Watt with one.
Oh.
No S. Yeah, no S.
Okay.
That would have been impressive.
I was like, wow. I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
I thought you said Alan Watts, and I was like, I'm pretty sure Alan Watts has been dead for a long time.
This is a Scottish-Canadian deep history researcher from Britain.
Well, the thing is, when people start, so like when Shelley was talking about the Tanakh, and then we talk about Bible codes. Yes, in Hebrew, each individual letter is also a word, and there's a number of different meanings and everything else, and you can play those games with it. But to say that Abyssinia is somehow tied to ABC when we're talking about, is this the origin of a particular alphabet? Is it linguistic? And at the end of the day, what the hell did we learn from that, even if it were true? That I don't even understand what the connection is.
You can make connections between...
The ABC, I'm sorry to interrupt both of y'all. The ABC meant atomic, biological, chemical.
Meant that to who?
To the
ancient...
No, I'm not telling you a truth. I'm just giving you an idea of what I've read. I'm not telling you this is absolute.
I don't care if it's absolute. I care whether or not there's any reason to care about it. Who did this mean this to?
Sorry?
Okay, so the A was for atomic. To who?
Mm-hmm.
People who didn't understand atoms?
Well, when you... do you mind if I talk about Plato, or do you want me to... I don't know how to answer your question. I couldn't go into what kind of...
I don't know where we're going or what the purpose is.
Okay, Alan Watt.
The purpose is just an inner esoteric and an exoteric for most of the masses to kind of to use knowledge, but the inner esoteric, they understand where the knowledge kind of is a derivative of history, as you have ancient peoples coming down through history that hold like knowledge, and they over time, and it's not necessarily a linear growth or decay. It's sort of a random process of information. And I mean, basically, Alan Watt gets. Yeah, have you found the video too?
I looked it up. It says he's a conspiracy theorist who runs the online ministry Cutting Through the Matrix, where he preaches New World Order conspiracy theories.
Yeah, this is all making a lot of sense. I'm now that we know what we're talking.
The world is on the brink of collapse. Governments are using the conflict in the Middle East to distract us from the real problem of chemtrails.
Yeah, I want to preface too by saying he is not necessarily telling everything. He does still keep a wall of silence on certain particular.
Oh, bullshit!
I think
if he's been publicly labeled a conspiracy theorist, to then double down and say that there's also things that he's not telling us. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not interested in this esoteric stuff. Sorry.
Climate change is a hoax and being used as an excuse to bring about some agenda. Not even.
Ooh, some agenda. I hope it's being used to bring about the agenda of changing what we do that affects the planet. That would be a good agenda to potentially address. But we've got Renee in California. Thanks for waiting.
Hello. All right. So based on the last call, it's actually wonderful because he addressed some things that I will go in depth with.
Oh, good.
First, I must...
Because it says here you have mathematical evidence for God embedded in Scripture, so we're pretty much onto the Bible code stuff that I just rejected.
Before that, though, I'm going to tell you something.
Okay.
You're a positivist, right?
A logical positivist? No.
No. A philosophical positivist regarding science, in which every natural phenomenon can be understood with the scientific method.
No, I'm not a philosophical naturalist. I'm a methodological naturalist.
No, I said a positivist.
Okay, I'm not you defined it, and your definition was co-equal to philosophical naturalist, so I use that term. But no, I am not in any way asserting that everything can be explained in the terms of natural sciences.
Okay, well, I am. Okay, so let's base it off that.
You are?
So, Yes.
Okay.
So if we disagree on that, then okay, then I'll leave that part away. Now, would you agree that the scientific method can show natural phenomenon and how it works, correct?
So I would describe what we discover through the scientific processes as the
Right.
best tentative current understanding that is consistent
That's
with.
exactly what.
Wow, I didn't even finish, but okay, go ahead.
That's exactly what I meant. Just to be, you get me. You get me. You know what we're talking about. All right. So just one example. When Einstein, due to his math, was able to predict that the sun would bend light beams coming from stars behind it, that involves mathematical proof for a natural phenomenon, correct?
There are mathematics involved in calculating gravitational lensing, yes.
Exactly. Okay. So then when Lemaitre did the math as well, seeing that the universe was expanding, and then Hubble was able to verify that through experimentation, that we can know that math can confirm natural phenomena. That's just another example, right?
Well, mathematics are involved in coming up with descriptions of physics that govern the universe, yes.
Conjectures. Yes, conjectures. Okay.
Well,
All right. So
they're conjectures in the sense that these are models which we can make predictions from, and the reliability of the predictions is what tells us how accurate and reliable the models are, and they're constantly under revision.
exactly. You know what I mean. Yeah, you get. I'm glad you get it. Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Because a lot of people don't seem to understand that. So
I'm betting that's going to change in a second, but go ahead.
So regarding Isaac Newton,
Okay.
Isaac Newton was the one who discovered the classical mechanics of our world, correct? Basically, how it is that
Isaac Newton is credited with that. That doesn't mean that there weren't basic understandings elsewhere. He codified the Principia and everything else.
Right, that's what I meant. Right, like codified it. Okay, so all right.
Probably better published, but go ahead.
That's right. So if we agree that it can work both ways, experimentation can prove math, and math can prove experimentation. Is that correct?
A ruler can tell me the measurement of the table. The table can't tell me anything about the ruler.
Are you sure?
No.
Because an inch is just an arbitrary measurement of space.
Correct.
But an inch.
If you only want to say that if we know the table is if we know that this table is 9 inches long, we can use that to verify the reliability of the ruler. Then yes, but how do you know that the table?
We've already ruled.
But we already had to determine that by measuring. So if the only point is that two co-equal measurements are equal, then cool.
Okay,
But your question was about methodology, about math confirming data or
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going to. All right. So let me ask you.
We're over time, so I need you to get there.
I know. I'm trying to. Okay. So then, gematria was mentioned, in which each Hebrew letter has a value, right?
Yes.
The first sentence of I know you say that you don't like using the Bible as proof, which obviously makes sense. But you must remember, just like Einstein's math proved reality, and reality can prove Einstein. This works this way. So gematria, the value.
No, gematria, this process of equidistant letter systems, the Bible code stuff, it works in other books as well. And you can pick arbitrary numbers. And oh my God, stop saying exactly. Let me finish my sentence. You can do it with War and Peace. You can do it with other books. You can do it by changing the distance between letters. And the entire process is about, let me hunt through here and find something until I find something that makes sense with what we already know about reality. That does not in any way confirm that is a message that was intentionally placed in there. It's exegetic. It is something we are imbuing the book with.
Okay, all right. So that's perfect. Yeah. So then I know this argument, and
you're just making his arguments for him.
Well, he keeps saying it's perfect, but I know I am strongly convinced that you're about to say the exact opposite.
Let me ask you. No, because you're actually right. You do not work for Satan. You do not lead people astray into lies. You lead them to the truth. And this is what I've realized is that. I know you don't like to hear this, but in the first sentence of the Bible, there is a mathematical code not using gematria, using the totient function of Euler that is used for encryption now. It's embedded in there to the point where the CIA released a puzzle called Cicada 3301.
Oh, sorry, I can't have you talk about the CIA. He will remember that for quite a long while. But yeah.
I just want to pick up where the last caller left off. Oh my gosh, no.
Wow.
I love how everything you said was just like exactly. That's
exactly.
It. That's where I'm going.
And that's why I know that the first sentence in the Bible is a secret code that the CIA used. No, I am part of the Illuminati. I am here to rain on your conspiracy theorist parades. Please enjoy hating me. We have 2 calls left I want to get to quickly before that. Eric in Flower Mound, Texas. You have a counter argument for morals come from the Bible and use them with a theist this week. So tell us as reasonably rapidly as you can. And thanks for waiting.
The first one is the Bible is historical evidence of God, and that it's the same thing as a history textbook because it's written down. So therefore, it can be factually proven and historical proven. First one. And then the second one is that the intelligent design, that our world is too perfect in regards to the amount of oxygen, how far away we are from the sun. And then that I compared it to Harry Potter and saying that you can't disprove that, and he's saying that was wrong. And then probably the biggest one was that he said all religions point to the one God, that the Hindu gods are all just the Holy Spirit, the Son, the Father, and the devil. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on those ones real quick.
Well, I think you mentioned the Goldilocks argument in there about, the world is the perfect distance from the sun, and that proves that, from the perspective of Mars, it doesn't work. What happened to those?
Yeah.
That life on that planet.
The idea that we live on the planet that's perfect for us to have evolved on, we are the thing that could arise here. And if you change things, maybe something else would have arisen, and then it would be sitting there saying, oh, look how this world is so perfect for me. My favorite response to that is always Douglas Adams' puddle, the puddle that gains sentience and is recognizing it's a puddle of water, and look how this pothole on the street perfectly fits me, and it was formed to that, and it's so busy thinking about how clearly this pothole was designed for it that it ends up evaporating. But yeah, I'm not going to get it right or exact. What else were you wanting us to address?
So the one I had.
That every religion's pointing to the same God. Well, then maybe they should quit fucking fighting about it then, because the truth is that the various gods of various religions are incompatible, and it is only incredibly flighty, irrational, let me not be confrontational dumbasses that are trying to pretend as if they're all pointing to the same thing because they heard some story about 3 men trying to describe an elephant. Well, maybe if those 3 men were actually talking about 3 different things, it's a mistake to think that they're talking about the same thing. The fact that 3 people might have been describing an elephant doesn't change the fact that there might also be 3 people who are describing 3 different things, a lion, a tiger, and a bear. Oh my.
And it's very convenient that he would say, "Oh, that's the Son, the Spirit, and the Holy Ghost."
Yeah,
and that's who it really is in disguise,
Yeah, so you've got the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Which one of those is Thor?
And then also addressing if there's only one God, why are there 3? And why is this a polytheistic religion wrong? If the explanation for why it's even there is that it is the 3 gods that are only the one God. When
is Ganesh going to come down and clear all this up for us? Because if Ganesh and Yahweh and Jehovah and Beelzebul and everybody else are all the same, then Ganesh can just show up and say that. Hey, I'm here, and I'm all of those other gods too. I got nothing else. That's just absurd.
All right, and then I think I have 2 more. So as arrogant as it may sound, he stated that since it's written down, therefore it's true, and that there's no difference.
Okay, so grab a piece of paper and write, you are wrong.
You could even print it. It could look all official.
You could write it in old fonts that Shakespeare used. I got one more call I got to get to. I got to let you go, Eric, but I appreciate you waiting. I'm sorry we can't keep going further, but we're literally like running up against time. But I appreciate the call. And Jarl in North Carolina, you get the last call about intelligent design and biology. So thank you very much for waiting. You're on with Shelley.
Hi, y'all.
Oh, thank you for leaving the best for last.
That was my plan.
So, but anyway, one thing I want to clear out before I go on is that I'm not like most intelligent design proponents, and because
you're not a car design proponentist. That's just a joke for my.
Well, I mean, I'm not a young Earth creationist, but I also don't think that it was God who was responsible for the intelligent design of life on Earth.
Okay, so you are convinced that life was intelligently designed, but not by God.
That's right. I suspect either time travelers or aliens.
Okay, where did the time travelers come from? Apart from the future. I mean, that's the obvious joke answer. But
I mean,
did the time travelers evolve naturally, or were they created by intelligence?
I mean, it could have been, future humans or the descendants of mankind going back in time and, starting the whole.
So you don't think there's any problem with that we can violate causality? Essentially, we in the future go back and invent ourselves. But how does that process get started?
Well, it's not like we invent ourselves directly, but we seed the Earth, right? And there was some form of Darwinian evolution going on, or
but now you've got this loop. You've got this loop where people from the future go back and seed the Earth past, and then they evolve, and then they go back and seed the Earth in the past, and they get involved. But how did this loop get started?
Well, it doesn't have start. It's an infinite loop, and I don't see a logical problem with that idea, to be honest.
You don't see a problem with the fact that.
But I mean, even if there is a problem, I'm not committed to that specific idea. The idea that I'm committed to is that life was designed by material, physical agents instead of supernatural spirits.
Material, physical.
What convinces you that is the explanation when the bulk of science, when we talk about how creatures evolve and how we get the diversity of life, does not require any agency? So where did agency intervene, and how can we tell?
Well, I don't have a specific of the where and when, but here's my argument for why I think this did indeed happen. Okay, so here I'll lay it out in a deductive form. So everything that has this particular set of properties, and I will clarify what properties I'm talking about a bit, is designed by an intelligence. That's the first premise. Life has this particular set of properties. Therefore, life was designed by an intelligence. And the properties that I'm talking about, would be stuff that you've probably heard before, such as a specified complexity.
That's Michael Behe's nonsense idea that's already been shown to be not the case. Behe's irreducible complexity, specified complexity. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, there you go.
But that's been debunked as well, because evolution doesn't require either irreducible complexity or specified complexity. That's the purpose of evolution. The fact that you might have a spleen that does nothing for a period of time and then it keeps changing until it does something. The only specificity is at the time when we are able to identify a function. But that doesn't mean that it didn't evolve through a process that did not include that as a goal. You can't assert that because I have eyes that see that this was some sort of intentional thing that evolved with the goal of having an eye that sees.
Well, I mean, it's not. I'm not sure that you understand specified complexity, but my reason for expecting, that the explanation for this particular kind of specified complexity that we see in living organisms is intelligence, because everything that we know, from our uniform prior experience that has such a property, is the product of an intelligent agent. And we don't have
examples of the contrary. So this is why I posit
No.
intelligent agent is the best explanation for this.
So what did you just put intelligence as an example of specified complexity?
Wait, sorry, you're asking me for a specific example of specified complexity, right?
Well, you're saying that everything that has these characteristics, and the only one that I know that you've listed so far is specified complexity, which is not Behe, it's Dembski.
Right.
Everything that has this specified complexity, I'm not convinced that, first of all, that there is any such thing as specified complexity. So, and since you say I don't understand it, why don't you tell me?
Okay.
What do you mean by specified complexity, and how do you know that it's specified in some sort of intentional way? Because if you want to say everything that has this characteristic is designed, and here, let me short circuit all this. Let's ignore what the specific specified thing is. If your claim is everything that has characteristic X is designed by an intelligence, do I have that characteristics? Do I have that characteristic that is always present when it's designed by an intelligence?
Well, I mean, I think yes, like inside the cells that make up your body, your genetics has that property of specified complexity.
So you cannot then say everything that has this specified complexity is the result of intelligent design in order to demonstrate that I'm the result of intelligent design, because that's the very question we're trying to answer, and that makes the entire argument circular. You can't just assert that what I'm made of is specified complexity, and specified complexity is always the result of intelligent design, therefore I'm the result of intelligent design. That's circular. The question is life the result of intelligent design? And you don't get to say everything else that's like life, or that has these characteristics of life, has been intelligently designed, therefore life is as well. That's a circular argument.
I'm not committing a circular argument, and I'll tell you why. Because, the reason here, I'll start this way. We have this background uniform experience of things with this property.
What property? All right, now I got to know the
specified complexity.
I don't stop.
Is one of them.
Stop.
No. It's an inductive argument, Matt.
Stop. Do you know what stop means? I don't accept that there's any such thing as specified complexity, and you've told me I don't understand it. So tell me what character.
I'll define
Jesus
it right now.
Christ! Interrupt me one more fucking time, I dare you. Tell me what you mean. What characteristic is it that you're describing so that we can all understand and then assess the argument?
Okay, so I'll list really quickly 3 kinds of complexity. One of them is specified complexity. Number 1 would be crude complexity, which would be like a random jumble of letters, no pattern.
Why is it nobody can ever answer the question that I ask?
I will.
No,
but I think
no, sir.
It's wise for me.
No, sir. Stop. I asked a question. I don't need examples of other types of stuff. Give me a characteristic that fits what you're talking about. Describe a characteristic.
It has a lot of parts. It has a lot of parts and a clear, coherent message to it. Like a sentence. That would be an example of specified complexity.
Sure. It has a lot of parts and a clear, consistent message. I'm not convinced that life has any such thing that could be described as a clear, consistent message.
What about the genetics of organisms?
DNA is not a message. DNA is not, so when you talk about a clear message, that is one mind communicating a concept to other minds. That's not what DNA does. DNA is chemicals following physical processes that produce replication. But the fact that we can view this as a code when we're analyzing it does not mean that there is an intended message there. That we'd have to demonstrate.
You don't have to think of DNA as being literally a message. The point is that it has shared properties with messages or codes written by human beings, and this is the point. The things that have these properties.
But now you're arguing by analogy. The fact that so does everything that shares a characteristic with a message are those designed?
I would use induction to infer so. Yes, it seems most likely true than not.
Okay, good job.
It seems like a rather
good job
straightforward-
proving it. The fact that you feel like things that are like other things are probably caused by the same things, that doesn't make for a sound argument. You might as well just be saying, hey, I see other things that have these characteristics, and therefore this thing that have this characteristic is also designed. Well, that's not the way a reasoned argument works. It is, you're right, you're right, it's inductive and it's an inference, but you cannot demonstrate that that is the case. And when you say...
Induction is used in science all the time. That's how we know the laws of physics. We induce them from repeated observations.
Yeah, and yet, curiously, physicists and biologists are not buying this. So here's the thing. You have a characteristic, and you're saying in every, and we have to clear this up, in every instance other than human beings, this characteristic is the result of intelligent action. Therefore, it is plausible and likely that in humans, it is also the result of intelligent action, and that simply does not follow, because you cannot show that there wasn't another option. As a matter of fact, what biologists have done is shown natural processes over time, the mechanical, physical processes that led to this.
Have they demonstrated specified complex information arriving through natural means?
You know why they haven't? You know why they haven't? Because specified complexity is a bullshit concept. It is a post hoc view of something where you say, "Wow, this appears to be designed, therefore it likely is." That's what specified complexity is. Hey, this appears to do this job, and the most reasonable inference I can make is that it was intended to do the job. You are an agency detector, and you are seeing agency. But that doesn't mean that there was agency.
So, okay, so you don't have a defeater to my inductive argument.
The defeater is you have not made your case. Simply saying that you see this as specified complexity, when I say I don't, means that you have more work to do.
Matt, I laid out, an inductive argument. Sure, the conclusion doesn't follow necessarily from the premise because it...
The conclusion doesn't follow necessarily from the premise because it's an inductive argument. Thanks for wasting our time. On that note, I appreciate everybody who's on the other side, but very special thank you to Shelley and Rob and the people behind the crew that made all that live music and stuff happen for us. I'm going to be gone next week. I'm doing a debate in Baylor Friday night on the resurrection. So maybe we'll have new stuff to talk about then. But
awesome. Thanks so much for having me. This was awesome.
Will you just play us out? Just
to play us out? What do you mean to play us out? No?
I mean, just play something in the background as they put up the credits, and so that people can go buy all of her music, including the new album that's coming out, March 15th?
Yes, Holy.
Called Holy. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back next week.
My morality has nothing to do with the Bible or the verses of the Quran. My morality won't judge you by your spirituality, but by the things that you have done. My morality is not set into stone tablets who don't even tell you not to hurt children. My morality is not dictated by a deity. It's developed from empathy, dependence, and love. My morality accepts everybody's sexuality. Is more concerned with inequality than validations from above. My morality is not set into stone tablets who don't even tell you that it's worthwhile to be good for being good's own sake, then not to think for yourself can be a deadly mistake. My morality is not recitable from memory. It's something inside of me, how I wanna be. Treat others how I want them to treat me. Basically, not to hurt anybody. Abhors any brutality. It stems from our common humanity. And it's what my grandmother taught to me. And it's mine because I'm free.